This is the SeoulPodcast. Please install this ActiveX control and enter your banking information before listening. I'm King Sejong, reminding you to please finish your milk before exiting the bathroom. And here are your hosts, Emma Kalka and Joe McPherson.
And welcome to the SeoulPodcast. This is Joe.
And I'm Emma.
And this week we have Lindsey Walker.
Woo!
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
I'll introduce
Hello.
you really quickly. Lindsey first came to Korea from New York City at the end of 2008 to teach English. She was working for the transfer agency George Sons on Wall Street. Wow. During the height of the recession.
I know. We're just like.
This was pretty depressing.
It was depressing.
Okay. It was depressing. Okay.
Yes.
She was looking for adventure and a way to keep paying off her student loans to NYU. This sounds right up our alleys. So teaching in Korea fit the bill. Little did she know that when she would spend the next 3 years living here, then moving with her partner to Australia, then returning to Korea in 2013. Currently, she focuses on volunteer work, hosting events. Her Etsy shop, which is the name of the Etsy shop Yogio Accessories?
Yes, Yogio, yes.
Yogio.
Yes.
Yogio
Over here.
Accessories. Lindsey, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on tonight.
It's great to have you on.
Yeah.
So I know
you.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I go ahead and speak. I don't want to speak over you.
Really?
Oh,
You're
no,
the
I
guest.
was
You can
just
speak.
saying,
People hear us all the time. They're tired of us.
Yeah,
Okay.
they hear us all the time.
So I know you guys are interested in hearing about the volunteer work I've been doing for almost, I guess, this summer will be almost a year that I've started doing things. And it all happened because of COVID. And COVID was I was getting really angry and frustrated. Anger moves people, I think. It was making me really angry and frustrated to see the lack of support I was seeing just for regular people from the government all over the world. And then, of course, there was so much political unrest last year in America, especially with Black Lives Matter and other things that were happening with the LGBTQ community, where a lot of trans women were being hurt and murdered. And I was just getting so angry. And what happened was the first thing I did, I started making Black Lives Matter bracelets, and I ended up raising $1,000, and I donated it to one of my friends' nonprofits in DC that focused on women who are victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. So I raised $1,000 for that through just making bracelets. And then there was another charity it's my sister's house in Memphis, Tennessee, that finds housing for trans women. And so I ended up raising, I think I did bracelets for that too. I ended up raising maybe about $200 for that to donate to them. And then I was like looking around, I was like, what else can I do in my local community to help people? And I kept on seeing, like, on Facebook, when people were losing their jobs at Hagwons, or the bars and restaurants were being forced to close. And I was thinking, if you lose your job in Korea, and what are you going to do just for, like, maybe you have housing, but what about food and everyday expenses? Like, how can you live? And I was like, there has to be something I can do, because there's people that they weren't asking for help, but they're saying their situation, like in Loft, like, my Hagwon just closed. What am I going to do? I don't have any money. I was like, one of the first things, like, if you're hungry, you can't think straight. Right? If your mind, like, they have that thing where they talk about kids going to school and why they're misbehaving. Like, when I had kids in school misbehaving, two of the first things I've always asked them were, are you hungry or are you tired?
I think we gotta put this dog in here.
Okay. Sorry.
He's peeing everywhere.
That's okay.
Come on in.
Family.
All right.
Guys,
Close the door. Close the door.
He peed in my bag here.
Come back. This is the reason I was late.
Okay.
All right.
The dog.
Yeah,
Did
come
you
on.
get a dog?
I am dog sitting this weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's peeing everywhere, so we're gonna bring him in
He
here.
peed in my bag.
Oh!
Oh no! Jan is not happy about this.
Gia's not happy. Can you close the door, please? All right.
I mean, that means he's happy to see you. He's excited.
Exactly. That's what I tell myself when my dog pees in my bed. He was just really happy to see me.
I had him pee before he got inside. Okay, so yeah, I'm driving all over town because it's my boss's dogs. One of us was taking one dog, one was taking the other, and I was driving one of the guys to his place, which is on the other side of Incheon, and then driving all the way back. My God, Incheon.
Yes.
Incheon is just traffic lights. Traffic lights. And I'm just sitting at every darn traffic light. So I've been driving 2.5 hours when I walked in and started the show. And so I just got the dog in, hadn't said anything up, and I started the show right when I just walked in the door. So this is Creamy.
Hi, Creamy.
Hi, Creamy.
Creamy has a sister named Cookie.
Why does do cream? Like cookies and cream.
Cookies and cream.
Exactly. That would make sense. Cookies and cream.
Yeah. So
By the way, I'm surprised Pippin's not in here. My dog usually makes an appearance, but he's I gave him some puppy Prozac.
Okay.
So he's chilling out. No, it's been a very stressful week. I had visitors last weekend. He's still kind of recovering from that. So he's just chilling out on the sofa. Okay. He looks like Dobby now, but anyway, so you're saying,
yeah, I'm sorry. The interruption of dog.
Yeah. Sorry. Dogs. They're always interrupting. Usually it's me, but that's not me this time. But yeah.
As I was saying, one of the things that when I was teaching, if a child's having problems in the class, one of the first questions I would ask is, are you hungry or are you tired? Because when people are hungry, I feel like they can't think straight, and you can't really, it's very bad for your mental health and your mental well-being. So I'm like, if these people are losing their jobs, I'm like, how are they buying food? And so I just, I actually started a group on Facebook, Expat and Immigrant Women in Korea. And through that group, I think maybe it was in last August or beginning of last September, I just put a call out for food. I said, if anyone has any extra or spare food they can donate, let's gather this food and give it out to people who are in need and are in the immigrant community. Because Korea, even alone for its own citizens, doesn't have the best social welfare programs. But for immigrants, like, what do they do for us? Can we go to the government and get like, here, help me out, help me pay my rent, help me give me some food, I'm hungry. They're like, no, you should go home, leave. Right?
There isn't much of a support system here, especially compared to like the US. There's more support
no safety net.
There.
There's no, let me tell you, when I was in New York, there was actually one of my dorms, there was a food bank right next to one of our dorms downtown. And when they had extra food, I was a poor college student anyway, they would give us food too. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. But anyway, so last September, I put the call out and so many of the women in that group responded and gave food. And I said, you guys got to be like my eyes and ears too. If you see someone in need and in a group, tell them, send them my name and I will send them food. They can either come pick it up or if they live too far, I'll ship it out to them. Wow. I have no problem with that. So, and then I talked to Riza at the workshop in the Hidden Cellar, and I was telling him what I was doing. And he was like, Lindsey, if you need to cook food, you can use my space anytime you want. And so they've been awesome. Anytime I ask them, I go, oh, can we organize a food drive? Can we collect some food on this Sunday? And he's like,
this is over at the workshop, right?
Yeah, it's downstairs at the Hidden Cellar.
Yeah, Hidden Cellar, yep.
Yes. So he's been helping. They've been wonderful. Even Le Chien Blanc, the bakery, they've donated stuff. Like they either donate like at least once or twice a month, but it's hard. It has to be like fresh because they cook with they bake with no preservatives, so it can go bad. So they let me know when they have stuff that they can give to me. But they've donated, and I wanted there to be a more sense of community, because I feel like the reason why COVID hit the foreign community so hard here is because we weren't connected. We weren't helping each other out. We were operating in like too independently, because coming from where I come from, like I'm used to like the immigrant communities coming together and having things and having community centers and having schools. And we don't have that here. And I don't understand. Like we've been here there's been who've been here for 30 years, right? Or more than 30 years, lots of us like teaching, like just as a community, like teachers in the community here. And people aren't just staying for a year. People stay for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So to me, I'm like looking around like, why don't we have a more cohesive community that helps each other out to make sure that people, when shit hits the fan, that they don't have to leave? So
Exactly.
So that's one of the big things again. Go ahead.
I've been doing this show on and off since 2008. And that's one of the things I always keep bringing up is why don't we have such much community here? It's really tough.
Yeah.
One thing possibly is the average stay of a foreigner here, especially English teachers, is 2 years.
Yeah.
Not enough time.
Yeah. But there's so many long timers that left during COVID. There's so many, I was like, they were here for a long time. They go, I just can't do it anymore. I go, and I was so disappointing for me. And so I still know some people who are still leaving this summer. I'm like, you almost made it through, but they're like, I can't do it anymore. I can't. Just like, it's time to go now. And it's so sad to see all the foreign businesses that are closing that couldn't make it through. Yeah. And so I just want to, so I wanted to try to start creating a community and foster like foreigners being able to come together and work together and build something so we have a solid foundation and have a safety net. And I want to focus on with the group that the reason why people stop helping or stop volunteering is because they think they have to be a superhero to save the world. And you don't have to be a superhero. It takes many hands doing small things and working together to make a big change. And so I never, even the group, I go, just do whatever you can. Just donate whatever you can. Some people go, I only have this. I was like, don't say you only have $5. No, thank you.
$5 can help in some way.
That helps. The $5 helps a lot. I don't need that. If I have one person that gives me $500, but it's only that one person, that only goes so long. It has to be everyone helping. If you have, if it's time, if you can donate your time, if you can donate something extra in your house, like, yes, that helps. It doesn't, everyone thinks that they have to be like a superhero to make a change, and you don't. It's all of us working together that we make the biggest changes and the biggest impacts on other people's lives. So that's why I just want to foster that in the community and really focus on also other businesses that are helping us and let people know, go to this business, go to this bar, go to this bakery, because when people are in trouble, they're the ones who help out. So that's what I want to do, just foster more of a community, do more things with people who are in the arts and who are creative, because that's what keeps the community going. That's what keeps the community from dying. So I've been trying to infuse that with the volunteering and connect with other people. And there's lots of little things going on in our community that people don't know about because we don't share things and we're not connected. And there's things like, there's so many people I've met in doing this. I'm so happy that now I feel connected and we can like tell people about different shows or different programs or different things they can do. So I'm really excited. To continue growing, especially when the COVID restrictions go down even more, so we can do more and get more people out.
This is so exciting because I really wanted this to happen. And I mean, so how has the response been so far?
The response is good. You always in the beginning have the few key people who are always participating. So the group right now, it's called, the Foreign and Immigrant Virtual Community Center in Korea.
Okay,
that's the name. I know.
What's the difference between foreign and immigrant? Okay.
See, this is the thing. Okay, for me, I am an immigrant. Okay, I consider myself an immigrant, but so many people consider themselves just an expat or a foreigner. They don't want to call themselves an immigrant. I go, no, you are, but you cannot. I don't want to correct people and go, no, you're an immigrant. You moved here. They go, but I don't plan to stay here. I'm like, yeah, most of the immigrants to America, when they came, didn't plan to stay in America. They were like, I'm going to make some money, go back to my country. So that's how it starts. And they end up staying. So it doesn't mean that you're going to live here forever. You might immigrate to another country. Yeah. Right.
Okay. Good point. Very good point.
People don't want to call themselves immigrants. So I have to put foreigner or expat in front, even though I don't necessarily think they're an expat or I kind of think everyone's an immigrant. You're here making money, living here. So that's why I put those in front, because I know the people have that whole identity issue.
It is.
No one wants to be an immigrant.
It's a position of privilege.
Yes. So I'm like, I got down, you're an immigrant.
That's so I have no about it before.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Joe and I have mentioned it before, and we both consider ourselves immigrants. I mean, Joe, you've been here a lot
I
longer
use the
than
term back and forth, but I'm conscious of it. I've been trying to use the word immigrant more often, but
I mean,
I've
been here. We've both been here for over a decade, so I think we're well into immigrant
I'm an
territory.
F5 visa. I've actually voted in Korean elections. I mean,
Yeah.
the thing is, though, I don't feel part of it because even though I'm able to do that, I still can't get a credit card.
No. But there's still, I think, the reason why I immediately associated it with being an immigrant is because I grew up around, and most of my friends were immigrants or first generation Americans. So to me, it was never a stigma, or when people complain like, oh my gosh, you've been in Korea so long and your Korean sucks. I'm like, yeah, my friend's parents own a restaurant in Jersey for 20 years and they could understand English, but they didn't speak English at all. I would go to their house like, oh, Miss Park, what are you having for dinner? And she would say whatever. I go, oh, well, hey, thanks. But yeah. So that's some immigrants, especially if you're an immigrant and you're working to live, you don't have that luxury of learning a language that well. Or I had a friend, Salvador, who learned English from Sesame Street. So people were like, you kind of speak like kid English. I'm like, but he's able to communicate. So to me, there was never that stigma like, oh, you don't want to be called an immigrant because that's who I grew up around. So yeah, okay, I'm fine with that. So, but yeah, definitely, we do have to have a more cohesive and a more a stronger community. Even I got a chance to actually live when I lived in Australia. My partner is Korean, so I was a part of the Korean foreign community there, or immigrant community, which is kind of weird because I'm American, but there aren't a ton of Americans in Australia. So we lived near K-Town in Sydney. So it was like me shopping at Kmart, not Kmart, the American version, but Kmart.
Right.
And, yeah. And,
Kmart.
Yeah, Kmart. Yeah. And being so upset that like Sunday was like 10 Australian dollars. I'm like, what? I'm not paying 10 Australian dollars for Sunday. Like, no. And like the Korean community abroad, oh my gosh, they're so on top of everything. Like the first day I arrived, my mother-in-law was like, oh, you need a phone. The next day I had a smartphone. I was like, where'd you get? She's like, here you go. They have me and my husband would look for jobs on I forget the Australian like version of Craigslist. I forget what it's called, but there's like an Australian version of Craigslist where you can find jobs and find like furniture and use stuff. But then the Koreans have their own version. So we'll be like double dipping back and forth. I was like, I'll do the Australian version. He'll do the Korean version. But yeah, they're very well connected. If you need a job, someone will find you a job, or like, it's like knowing people and talking amongst yourselves and like building each other up. But here we're so disconnected. And it's like sink or swim, and people feel like they're alone. Like even people, I need someone to hang out with. Where can I see that all the time. I don't have any friends. I'm so alone. I feel so bad for them. I go, it's horrible being in a new country and being all alone and being, especially I really feel for the teachers or someone who works in a job where they're one of the only foreigners. Yeah. Because there's no thing like that's what connects you is that experience. Like I am not from here, so we can connect on this level. Maybe not on everything, but there's one thing that we have in common. And so that's my other worry about this and COVID is that it's affecting the mental health of the community. So also, so this Sunday, what I'm trying to do is at least once a month, we have a meeting in Itaewon at Coffee Smith, and it's just coloring. I bring coloring sheets and color pencils and just color for a few hours.
That sounds fun.
So, but
this
yeah,
sounds
so
like my thing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah,
I might show up.
Yeah, Emma's within walking distance.
Yeah, so little things like that. I think one of the most important things is if I can possibly, or the people in the community that can, it's just sometimes just showing up and being there. Like the first time I did it, I think I was the only one that was there. I only showed up. I was like, but I'm still going to go because what if someone does show up? So it's just important. I'm here. If you need something, I'm here. I can do it. So that's just important. And I think slowly, I think even people realizing through COVID what was going on, what's happening, that hopefully we will come out of this stronger. We'll have less people, but we'll come out maybe a little bit stronger. So, but yes.
Less people because they left.
Yeah, less people because they left. Not because they yeah, less people because they left.
I have to just clarify that for some listeners.
Way to make it morbid.
But yeah, less people because they left.
Usually I'm the one doing that. Yeah, no, and I honestly, like, one of the reasons why I really wanted to bring you on, because I do remember after Kim Schroeder, shout out to Kim. Kim is awesome.
Yes.
Kim was the one that suggested I contact you. And then after as I was like writing up, I was like, wait, I know this person. We met. We had a very long conversation about this during the debate.
The debates. Yeah.
The debate watch that you did at workshop. And we talked about it a lot. And I was like, I love this. And I was going to do a thing with my birthday party in December. And like, I was going to set it all up. And then like everything shut down. Like,
yes. Yeah.
And
even with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened with that was someone was like on the HBC board. They were like, I wish there was somewhere I could watch the debate, blah, blah, blah. And I just sent, as soon as I saw that, I sent a message to Riza. I was like, Riza, they want to watch the debate. He goes, okay, Lindsey, he's like, go ahead, make an event, set it up. I said, okay, Riza, I will. And he's like, if I go and ask him, and he's always ready to help out and do stuff for the community.
Good about that.
That's good.
He's like,
that's really good
about that.
Yeah. So
well, and
go ahead.
No, it's like we definitely need stuff like even for as tight knit as HBC feels at times, it's still very disconnected.
Yes.
You see the same people, like you can go to any bar and you'll see the same people in any bar. Like I know for me personally, because when I work through the magazine, I could go out to HBC, walk in most places and probably run into somebody I know. But when it comes to like, needing help and you just don't know those things because people don't really talk about that. And they're either like, I'm going to fix this on my own, or it's nobody's business, or I'm just going to suffer on my own. And we really are kind of missing that aspect of community where we feel comfortable with reaching out for help and B, being willing to reach out and help others. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people. Yeah. And I feel like there's a lot of the people in the community who obviously who do want to step up and help. It's just, maybe they don't know, maybe they're not looking in the right places. And for the people who need help, I think a lot of times they're just like, this is just people that I know that I go out and drink with on the weekend. I don't feel comfortable asking these people for help or admitting in a public space that, I'm struggling.
Yeah.
And
to me, it really bothers me because one, I think that food and shelter should be basic human rights. There's enough food and there's enough shelter for everyone. So to me, it makes no sense. There's hoarders out there. There's people who hoard stuff. And there's people like, it's fine to hoard money, but it's not fine to hoard cats. But, and there's also people, it's true, right? People,
I know, but you're saying so many gems I'm stealing from you.
Yeah.
That's a good one too.
He's hoarding money. Yeah. But,
just credit her for it if you steal it.
Okay.
it's really, to me, it's so absurd. Or then what happens is sometimes people who don't need things take things. If you don't take what you don't need, which really gets me sometimes. And because what happens, especially some of the people who give the most have the least to give. You understand what I'm saying? The people who have the least to give the most because they know how it feels. So to me, like, I guess another impetus for me starting is like, if COVID had happened while I was in undergrad in New York, I would have had to drop out of school. There would be no way. I was working 2 jobs. I had a work study job and I was working at a restaurant. My work study job, I was a teacher's assistant in a school. Schools would have closed. Yeah. I was working at a restaurant. Restaurants closed. There goes my money. I moved out of campus housing because it was cheaper to get an apartment in New York City than live in NYU housing. So I wouldn't be able to pay. What?
I was like, sorry, that doesn't surprise me.
Yes,
just NYU. I was like, I wish I could have gone there, but I know I would never.
Me too. It's like that was the university I really wanted to go to.
I would have had to drop out of school because I wouldn't be able to pay my rent. And then when I was working at a restaurant, like that was like one of my meals of the day. I used to bring home food from the restaurant for me and my roommate, put it in our refrigerator. So
hold on. Did you do? Okay, I'm going to admit it. You don't have to say you did.
Yeah.
But especially during my early days, my dinners were leftovers from the customers, like from their
Oh,
plates.
no. Listen, Joe, I worked for, she used to be the largest private restaurant owner in America. Alice, what's her name?
Oh, Alice Waters?
I don't know, Alice Cutler. She owned.
Oh, Alice Cutler.
She owned Carmine's, Virgil's Barbecue.
Yep.
All those, but yeah, she owned. So they actually treated us really well.
Mm-hmm.
So you always got family meal, and then if you worked and you couldn't take a break, you could order it off the menu and take that home too.
Yeah,
and then
they're good.
We got free turkeys at Thanksgiving. If you worked a holiday, if you worked like Thanksgiving, you worked Christmas, they fed a steak all day long, like because you had to work a double. And so you got there to like how you want your steak cooked during your break. They're like how you want your steak cooked. So they did treat us really well.
That's amazing. That's
my
really
restaurant
good.
did not.
Yeah, they treated.
I worked at this one time. I worked at this horrible Redneck Oyster Bar, and they would work us. Our typical shifts would be 9 to 12 hours. So you're supposed to have a lunch break. They would never let us have a lunch break. And if we did eat food on the job that we got from the place, they would charge us full price.
No. Oh, they were so. Oh, no. If you went to the other restaurants, they were really good. You got a discount. So I worked at the barbecue restaurant, but I used to go to Carmine's with my friends. The managers would always come over, greet you, we got 30% discount, and they usually always would comp stuff off the bill too. So that was actually an awesome restaurant company to work for.
That's good to hear. That's really good to hear.
Yeah.
We didn't do that. I mean, I think we got a pretty good discount from what I remember. But no, I had to deal with like a lech of a boss, which actually I ended up quitting after my sophomore year because the summer between my sophomore and senior year, my parents moved down to Florida. This is in Northwest Arkansas. I went to college in Northwest Arkansas. Parents had moved down to Florida the summer before. And so I was like, okay, I'm leaving. I'll come back in the fall and I'll work again. Just to remind you from this month to this month, don't put me on the schedule because I'm going to be in Florida. Or you could stay. And I'm like, I live on campus. I live in campus housing. That shuts down over the summer. Where exactly are you expecting me to live? He was like, well, you could be my nanny for the summer and watch over my twin girls. I've got a spare room in the house that you can take and that will be yours. And I'll give you like 2 weeks off to go visit your family in Florida. And I'm like, okay, change of plans. I'm not coming back in the fall. Goodbye.
Yeah. That just sounds really weird and controlling, and that's not a good situation. No.
And he didn't even give us danger signs all over. Food.
Yeah.
It's like danger signs all over.
Yeah, and I'm like, you could have at the very least, like, this is not worth it. Your discounts on your food are not good enough. Your food is not good enough. If I go back to work at a restaurant, I'm gonna go work at your competitor down the street because at least their Italian food is more authentic.
Yeah,
for Northwest Arkansas, anyway.
Yeah, but yeah. Those early days of eating leftover chicken parmesans. Gosh. Man,
I would just like at the end of the night, if they had any of the salad left over, because they would make it in big bats. If they had any salad left over, I was just like, please, sir, can I take some home? Tupperware's for me. I'd be like, all right, bye.
I mean, I worked a crappy job. Well, it wasn't. No, I've had worse jobs, but I mean, I was a Domino's driver for a while. And one reason I stuck with them so long was you got a free pizza every shift. And so,
but yeah.
That fed me and my family.
Yeah. So it's a big thing. Like food insecurity is a very big thing. It's thing. It's really an issue. And when you're hungry, you can't concentrate. When you're thinking about, man, I'm hungry. What am I going to eat next? I don't know. My refrigerator is empty, or what am I going to how am I going to stretch this? Or you're digging for change. Like, I know I dropped like 50 cents in the couch. I can go buy something real quick, or you're telling. But
when you're buying milk, you're buying milk and you're just short of the sales tax.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Or having to put stuff back, or you're calculating stuff in your head.
Yeah, so embarrassing.
Yes. It's so, yeah. And I remember also as like my sophomore year, right at the beginning of what grocery delivery by internet. Joe, where are you from in the States?
Alabama, I grew up.
Okay, so New York started Fresh Direct in the early 2000s. That was the first company that was going to deliver your groceries through the internet, right?
Oh yeah.
So they had a promo. It was $50 worth of free groceries. So me and my roommates went crazy. Yes, we were like, how can we get
that's
get the
.com
most
as hell.
Yeah, we were like, how can we get the most groceries out of this? I was like, okay, so our room, and we had, it was a 2-person dorm. I mean, it was 2-bedroom dorm room, right? A 2-bedroom apartment style. So I was like, okay, I'm Lindsay. I'm apartment 5A. I'm like, Gina, you're 5B. You're 5C. You're 5D, because they couldn't go to the same apartment. I think we ended up doing $250 worth of free groceries. I was like, F it, we're getting steak. I was like, we're getting steak. We're getting this. We're getting lobster.
Awesome.
So it was so good. You're like, what? 50? And then they, a few weeks later, they stopped delivering the dorms though.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
yeah, people figured that one
They
out.
really picked up on it. They were like,
Yeah,
we know what these poor college students are doing.
Like free groceries. Oh my gosh.
That's
so good.
fine. You just took it's just a little money out of some Silicon Valley investors' pockets.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, it's a good story.
That's a great story.
You should tell that story all the time.
I like that.
I love
That's a fresh
lot.
direct story. Yeah, it was so. I remember even little things.
I remember Fresh Direct because they were going for an IPO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to them? I guess
all those early ones. There was something PEA.
Yeah.
Something like that. They were just way ahead of their time because now
they were ahead of their
does
time.
this.
Yeah.
I was in Arkansas. We were lucky if the internet worked. So we didn't have internet groceries, but we had Walmart. We had Walmart in abundance.
Yeah.
That's all we were known for.
For free field trips before they built the IKEA in Brooklyn, there was a free bus that went from Manhattan to Jersey to the IKEA. So that was your free field trip out of the city. I can't afford to go anywhere else. Let's jump on the IKEA bus and go to Jersey for the afternoon. It's free.
Woohoo, go to Jersey.
Yeah. So you gotta find, when you don't have any money, you gotta find, you're like,
Did you actually go to the IKEA?
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, you gotta get your meatballs,
Yeah, you pretend like you're cooking in the kitchen. You scare the kids that are walking around, jump out of closets. So it's a good time.
For me,
you have to find them.
Yeah, for me, most of that actually happened living in Korea, and me and my best friend got really creative because I think this was in like early times. I think about 2008, 2009. I was in between jobs. My best friend, who was Korean, was a college student, a late college student. We were the same age, but we were always broke, and we were just like, okay, so what? How do we we want to get drunk? What do we do?
Oh,
so there's a place I was living near Konkuk University at the time, and there was a place right down the street from me that did fried chicken, like a thing of fried chicken for 8,000 won. Mm-hmm. So what we would do is we would split it. So we would walk down the street and get our big thing of fried chicken. Yeah. And then we'd stop by the GS on the way back and get a couple of the big liter things. And we'd split it all. Your pictures of beer. Yeah. Yeah. And this was, I was still figuring out how to drink at this time because private Christian school. So you
figured it out though, right? You didn't go thirsty, right?
I figured it out. But that would be like a night out for us. We would just go down the street and get 8,000 won fried chicken, get a few of the liter things of beer, and we were set. Because that was back when that was enough alcohol, and we'd be.
Oh,
good.
it's yeah. I mean, if
usually there was one bottle of soju.
Poor, if you're too poor to get drunk in Korea, you're poor.
Yeah. No, you haven't get.
Yeah.
But yet, when you don't have money, you get creative. I know how to make a pack of ramen stretch. I know how to make that into a huge meal.
Yeah,
I know. I'm like, make that. Add some whatever the vegetables are on sale at the grocery store. Dice them up, drop them in there.
What's funny is some of the stuff I just invented. I started cooking back when I was really struggling with money for food back in the 90s. Now sometimes I cook some of those dishes and people love it. I'm like, this This is my I can't even afford spaghetti sauce spaghetti.
Really love. I call my poor person. I love cooked cabbage, and if you have a head of cabbage and you cook, it can go for like a little
for a long time.
You just you put like you get and you just cook it with like a little like bacon fat or pork fat just to give it a little like flavor. Put some spices in there. Maybe toss some onions and garlic. And it, like especially in the wintertime when it's cold, I'm like, oh, I got some cooked cabbage soup. I'm like, I'm good.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I just want some cooked cabbage.
And that's why these
honestly,
days I'm just thankful that if I want to, I can have 3 meals a day if I want to, and I'm always thankful for that. And I keep having to remind my wife of that. She's always complaining about stuff, and I'm like, believe me, we're fine. We're not as bad. We're having hard times. Like we're not as bad as we could be. But I don't. And it's kind of funny because I mean, I would say I had a privileged childhood, but my early adult years were very rough. Yeah. But she grew up much poorer than I was in childhood. But according to her, she never went hungry, and so she never had to deal with that. But she wasn't. I don't know. It's a real weird thing between us. Yeah. Is that she's very frugal in other things, but she doesn't. She's not thankful for what we have. How about that? We're not thankful. I'm always thankful. I'm so happy that if I want to, I can eat. Yeah, I grew up like when I was younger, it was a privileged lifestyle. But then, of course, in America, my parents went through divorce, and that can really shatter a family, especially if the burden falls on the mother, and then they're fighting for custody and fighting over child support, and that can go on for years, like in court, and you not get any money. So it's going from having things and then automatically like, oh my gosh, they're selling the house that I grew up in, and now I'm working. Like I've actually worked since I was 15. I got a job because if I wanted something, like I had to buy it. Like my mom was there, she could help, but she had 3 other kids, and my mom worked for a nonprofit. And actually, it's funny. The nonprofit that my mom works for was a food program to monitor home daycares, to make sure they're feeding the kids the proper food. Full circle. So it was a nonprofit. So it was awesome because her job was so kid friendly. Like we could go to work with her, and they had like a playroom and like stuff. And I remember when we were younger, she would have us donate our McDonald's toys to their playroom. And I remember we donated all our Beanie Babies. And I was like, years later, I was like, Mom, you had us donate all those Beanie Babies.
Why? They waste so much money now.
Yeah. I was like, they were worth so much money. But so my mom worked for a nonprofit. So when my parents were getting divorced, it's like, if you're head of a nonprofit, you're not really making that much money. It's really, you're not at all. So, and having to support 4 kids on a salary of someone. Oh my goodness. And then my mom took like other part-time jobs and tried to keep our lifestyle almost at what it was before, but you can't, it's impossible.
No, it's impossible. It's impossible.
It's impossible.
No. But So, I know. I had a very similar, for me, it was actually much younger. My parents got divorced when I was 5 or 6. And then I was with a single mom who was 22, 23, maybe, with 2 kids. Because my mom she got married at 17, had me at 18, had my sister 3.5 years later, got divorced, had no college degree. Like she tried doing college and work. I don't know. I mean, she was with just kids? Like, yeah, and she was very like, I know where I get it from. She's like, she had this like, I can do everything, I can do anything. That I'm gonna make this happen. I'm doing it because I want to have a better life for my daughters, and I have to make a good example for them. And then it got to the point. I mean, you can't work full time, raise 2 children full time, and have a full time job to be able to pay. So like, we were in Kansas City, Missouri at the time, and we were living in I'm probably going to get this wrong. Section something. I want to say Section 8, but it might be a different number.
Section 8 sounds right.
Section 8,
which I believe was like, it was a halfway house for something, a mental institution nearby. I want to same. I don't know. All I know is like there were certain neighbors that mom was like, maybe don't talk to them unless I'm watching you.
Yeah.
Just because, just be careful with certain neighbors and, don't wander off, which which was actually good. I was a very friendly child who would just walk off and make friends with everyone. And mom's like, shit, where is she? But yeah, no, but I remember my mom got I think that's also why later when I was an adult and going through like similar money issues, I was like, now I understand how mom got so creative with dinner. Because she was like always coming up with casseroles because casseroles were cheap and she would just like throw things together and it would taste
I know hamburger helper tastes so
great.
good.
And so my sister and I never actually realized just how poor we were.
Yeah.
Oh man. I learned all these tricks. I learned all these tricks.
Hamburger meat separate and that's a little expensive.
Yeah.
But so I learned that all from mom. So like hearing that was like, that's kind of sounds like us before mom got remarried. So I had the reverse. Mom got remarried and then we got into like the privileged lifestyle. And my sister, that's really all my sister knows. I remember more than her, but again, I was like 9 years old, I think, when she got remarried. But I still remember the first time mom gave us salmon. The first time I ever had to eat salmon, I was like, I refuse to eat this. She's like, it's expensive. You're going to eat half of it. And I'm like, Mom, it smells funny. She's like, you are going to eat it. And so she's like, you're not leaving this table until you eat half of that. Because mom was very much like, we're not wasting food. And it was really strange that for some reason, like, because I would eat anything, but this was the first thing I was like, I am not eating that. And my mom's like, you are going to sit at this table. And then I ate half of it. Now I love salmon, but that was like the first time I ever had it. I was just like, I don't know what this is. It smells weird. It's flaky. I don't want it.
First time you've had it. Yeah, it's kind of strange.
Yeah.
But I was just saying that there are foreigners, English teachers actually, in similar situations in Korea now.
Yes.
They're divorced with children.
Yes. Or they're single moms with children.
Single moms.
Right.
Yes. And
some of them have lost their jobs. Some of them have all these problems.
And my thing is, especially in immigrant communities, it's the first generation here. We walk so that those kids can run and come back to our community and really help us out. They're cross-cultural kids. They speak the language. They're more in tune with the customs. They'll go to school, maybe become a doctor, become a lawyer in this country, and come back and help service us. So on some of the families that we assist are single mothers, or their families that are they're factory workers, so they're not making a lot and they need help. Or we have mothers who are in school here too. So I want to help them even more because their kids, we don't know, maybe they might leave Korea, maybe they'll end up staying in Korea. I actually had a friend who her parents were immigrants here during the 80s. They moved back to Africa and then she eventually came back here. She has a Korean name. Like they left, they gave her a Korean name. She speaks Korean and she came back here. She immigrated back here as a young adult because she already had a connection.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's great.
So it's key for us. We have to help others in our community who are in need, especially the ones who are building families here, because that's our link to grow stronger. Who knows? Maybe the next 10 or 15 years, one of the families that we helped out, maybe their kid or 20 years will end up running for office here. Who knows?
Who knows? And then they really make a change.
Yeah. Yeah. And like the way Korea is going now, they need immigrants because their population is aging so fast and lots of Koreans don't want to have children. Yeah. So they need that blood in here. They need that younger people and to help build the society or keep it going. So they
need to stop making it harder to keep visas.
Yes.
There's a big question I want to ask you because you have I think you have personal experience. I'm sure you have given thought into why in Australia the Korean community seem to be strong and supportive as opposed to the foreigner community, especially the English teacher community here, doesn't seem as cohesive.
Yes. They don't see themselves as immigrants. It's kind of like that thing where they say in America, like, why do people vote against their best interests? Like everyone, they don't understand like why these poor people voted for Trump. As like, because they think they can be Trump, or they think they are at that level. They don't really recognize what they are. And lots of us are coming from Western countries where there's not a history of immigrants, or they're not around immigrants all the time. So they have these reactions, or they have this sense that there's something that they're not. Like, I'm always confused when people come over here and they're like, why don't I have more Korean friends? Why won't the Koreans be friends with me? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, when you're back home in America, how many immigrants are you friends with? How many immigrants do you date? When they're always like, the Koreans don't accept me, they won't date me, I can't find. I'm like, but think about it. On the flip side, how many immigrants do you? I was like, they're first generation immigrants usually have their own community, and then their kids branch out. It's not like you come in and like that local community is going to embrace you, because it's a language barrier, or even a job barrier. You don't work the similar jobs because immigrants usually work certain jobs. They're needed for certain jobs in the country. So here we're either teachers, then there's factory workers, and then there's people who work in hospitality. And even then we're divided, we're split.
Yeah. So, that's a big thing too, is this class division between the foreign communities. Yeah.
So, and then I'm happy once again that I'm able to meet more and more different people through this program, and people who are contributing. Like, I met people who are here who are students, people who are here as factory workers, people who are here as domestics, people. So I'm meeting people across the board from different countries. And it's really interesting to see people come together, or other smaller groups or communities that they're a part of too. And then me getting to know them. So I would, in my opinion, one of the strongest communities here that I interact with is probably the Filipino community.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yes. They are strong.
No, I kind of felt like that as well.
I love them. They're
amazing.
Yes, they are strong.
I want to find some way we can all connect with because it seems like they're the most established out of all the immigrant communities here.
Yeah.
And they have the closest we have to a support system.
So they'll come and I've had people donate, or they know information about things, or like, oh, if you can help this person out, or if we can. So whenever they're really well coordinated. They talk to each other. Yes, they talk to each other. Yes, they talk to each other. Yeah. As simple as that. Yeah.
I know. Creating community. Who would have thought, if we just talk to each other?
Just talk to each other.
Maybe that's how we can do things. Yeah.
And they're more like, I feel like they're more than willing to help out. And also they're just as fluent in English as anyone else. They all speak English.
Yeah.
They all speak English. Yeah. And their community especially was hit hard because some of them do teach English, or some of them they're domestic workers, or once again hospitality. And then there's something else someone was telling me. I was talking when they just selling goods, like some of them sell stuff like the Korean products back home to the Philippines, and then the mail system completely collapsed, or you had to send by EMS.
It has.
It's too expensive.
It has.
Yeah.
So, but and then also the student population here, I felt bad for, because some people lost their I would say like their grants, or their programs like disappeared, or if the other big problem was, okay, they have to go home, but there was no flights, so they were stuck here in Korea.
They're stuck here,
and they were stuck here, and so it's like I want to leave, I gotta leave, but there's no flights, and then I'm stuck. I'm trying to find a place to stay, and I don't have money to eat. And at one point in Songdo, the SUNY, they stopped allowing them to use the kitchen because of COVID. And they're like, that just makes me buying food more expensive, because I have to buy like the instant food, because I can't use the kitchen. I can't cook my own food. Yeah.
And and like, what about like the visas? Like, were they still allowed to keep their student visas?
It's like, I think you have to go to immigration and keep on extending. Like, I know there's one girl, she's been trying to leave and go back to the Philippines for like, ever since I met her. So that would be like back in December.
I was told by a few people that have had this issue that the immigration just said, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I will say, finally, immigration does something good. They're like, yeah,
immigration relaxed a bit.
Finally, they relax about something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But still with all that, there's still people wanting to come to Korea because I guess it seems safer. You just have to warn them, like, have your eyes open to what's going on. Definitely seek out as much information and be well aware of the situation, especially now. I feel like if you're trying to come as an English teacher, just really, really be aware of what school you're going to and how you're getting into it. And if you're coming here with K-pop dreams in your eyes and K-drama dreams in your eyes, like, no, this is the situation. If something happens, it's going to be hard, tough. It's going to be really rough.
Yeah. And there's probably not going to be a whole lot of people who are going to help you unless mom and dad can help you back home.
Yeah. And yes.
Yeah.
So but I was like, people are still going to come. We still need to build and help people and, support them. Yeah. But just I also want them to be well aware, know what you're walking into. So how would people get in touch? What are ways that they can connect? So they can either join the group on Facebook, and here, hold on for a second. Sorry. So on Facebook, we actually, to make it more organized, this is because I'm also I don't like wasting food. I hate wasting food. So there's a form that one of our volunteers made up, a Google Doc, where they can fill it out and let us know if they have any food allergies, if they have a particular diet, like if they're vegetarian or halal, if they have a baby, if the baby needs formula, they can fill out this document and send it. And I check it usually twice a week. So if they live close enough, they can pick up food. They can pick it up on a weekly basis. If they live outside of Seoul, or if they have, like, if you have 2 kids and they're like a toddler and an infant, I'm not expecting you to come all the way to Kungli-dong, hey, I'm trying to pick up food. I'll ship it out to you.
That's a bit.
So, but we ship every other week, so on a bi-weekly, so they can get 2 shipments of food a month if I'm shipping to them. But if they can pick it up, they can come meet me. I'll arrange a date with them and meet a time in a day and meet them with food. But also what I do is I go through all the donations for the week and I let them know these are the donations that we have available. Let me know what you need. Because once again, I don't want to send someone a bag of food that they're not going to eat. Like, I mean, I may be really hungry, but I hate tuna fish. I cannot. It will make me. I cannot.
We all have our thing. Everyone has their thing.
So if someone sends me a bunch of tuna fish, So I send a list. I go, this is what's available. Let me know what you need. And I also we do a produce run. Maybe sometimes twice a week. If it's sometimes I've gone like 3 times a week to buy fresh produce, because that's another thing when you're with food insecurity. Sometimes fresh produce is something that you don't always get.
No,
it's just expensive.
You're just getting the canned stuff and like the frozen stuff, so because it lasts longer. So I try to buy whatever in season and I always get the staples. I always get like tomatoes, onions,
potatoes,
and always bananas. The bananas are always like, they're never too expensive, and I try to get whatever.
They're always so cheap, and it's funny, they're imported. And then I try to get whatever fruit is in season, depending on the cost. So then we do that, bananas.
And I let them know.
Bananas are always cheaper than everything.
The bananas are always cheaper than everything.
And they're very filling.
And they're healthy.
They're healthy and they're filling.
So, so here, let me pull up. I'm sorry. It's not going to recognize my face with my glasses on. It doesn't recognize my face.
I feel like, no, sometimes it depends on the angle. Sometimes my phone doesn't do it with my glasses. It's like you have to get your eyes directly in the right direction.
Okay.
By the way, I can still hear, was it creamy?
It's creamy, like breathing really hard.
Yeah. But it's okay. It's cute.
Here we go. Creamy's a really heavy breather.
We go. Can you see that?
Okay. Foreigner and Immigrant Virtual Community Center in Korea.
Community Center, yes. Like I would, and it would be awesome if that over time we could get an actual brick and mortar place that people could come by and there's like a little playroom or something. That'll be, we do need that for people to come in, take a break, sit down on the couch, come like have a food pantry. Like that would be awesome. If one of the real expats that does have a lot of money and like, oh, hey.
I remember we talked about it. I remember us talking about this that day as well. It's like, why is there not a brick and mortar? But then it's like, oh, right, because none of us has the money or the resources to do this.
Yes, we don't. Yeah.
But this is the start. I mean, I'm so happy to hear about that. This is happening now.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
But they can definitely come on, join this group and fill out the form for food assistance if they need food assistance. Some people people tell me by word of mouth, like they go, I know someone who needs help. They live here. Here's their information. Can you please contact them? Or I'm trying to get in contact with another family, but the head of the household doesn't read English. She speaks English, but she doesn't read English. So she's not on Facebook. I can't text her. So they're like, we're trying to get you the information so you can call and talk to her, and so I can get her some food assistance and some help with the children as well. So yeah.
Okay. So what about people who would like to help, like maybe donate food or donate money or maybe donate services? Can they also get in contact with you through the same group?
Yeah, they can get in contact with me through the same group. My name is Lindsey Walker. I'm on Facebook. You can send me a message. I try to reply to all the messages I get. If they go to my other box, I try to check that. But the easiest way is probably to join the group and send me a message to the group. I try to keep everyone up to date and let them know what's going on and when we're having another food drive, or in the group, someone was like, I really need diapers or formula. So I was like, okay, who has diapers or formula? Who knows? I don't have kids, so I don't know much about diapers or formula, or like what age group or how you're supposed to buy it.
You gotta watch for that.
Yeah. And then I put it up and the ladies came out. They're like, okay, I got some diapers. I have some extra formula. I have this size. What size is the big? Like how many months? How many kids? I was like, okay, let me find out this information. So it's a really quick turnaround. And I want to say one of the best feelings I got one time from this group is that there was a family that needed a bed. And I was like, how the heck am I going to get a bed? It was to Asan. And I was like, let me just throw it out there. And someone's like, I have a bed. And someone's like, I have a truck. Okay.
Oh my God.
They're like, I live in Pyeongtaek. I'll come pick it up. They're like, I was like, tell me the time of day. I'll let them know that you're coming by with a bed for them. And I was like, I can't believe it came together. Like, I have a bed.
See, this is how community is supposed to work.
Yeah. That's stone soup.
That was good. So that was really great. So I always tell people like, oh, I have this. I'm like, well, let me find out who needs it. I'll ask them like, do you need this? Because to me, it is really important. You take what you need. If you don't need it, then someone else in the world needs it. You shouldn't listen, don't hoard stuff. Like you take what you need. But yeah. So if they want to provide services, they want to volunteer. On Mondays and Tuesdays, that's when I usually do the food runs. Every other Tuesday, that's when I do the bulk of the shipping. If they want to help me go at the post office, like I usually sort the bags before I go to the post office, but I don't have a car. I just go around HBC and Kangliang and Itaewon with my blue pool wagon. It's not my actually Pyuda in HBC. Do you know Pyuda? They donate.
Yes, I know. I love
that's
them.
what I pull that around with all the donations. I went all the way to where did I go to? Is it Ilsan one time to pick up donations with that 3 times in 1 week?
Oh my God!
Yes, I was like, oh, it's okay. I was like, I'll sit on the subway and I just read a book and I go. I picked up donations.
Okay, let's work on expanding your network. You're doing so much on your own. You're such a force of nature. Wow.
I have the time to do it. Oh, I have to mention too. Okay, so we also have a drop-off point in Pyeongtaek, JJ's Diner. You can drop off food there as well. And the owners of JJ's, they're really awesome too. When they come, they have brought food up from Pyeongtaek several times when they come to pick up supplies in Incheon. So people drop stuff up there and they will bring it up. If I go down to Pyeongtaek, I grab stuff, but they have driven all the way up to Seoul with donations several times.
Shout out to JJ's for that.
Yeah. So awesome. Definitely everyone keep in mind, or just once again, patronize the businesses that are helping out the community. So I can't like stress enough, like the workshop, the hidden cellar, JJ's diner in Pyeongtaek, Le Chien Blanc, the bakery, Peuda. Those are businesses that definitely helped out a lot. So, and if any other businesses want to reach out and go, hey, we want to help too, do it. Or even I'm willing to support other people. It doesn't have to be me. If you have an idea, you want to do something, I'll come out. You want to have an event, you want to raise money, I'll come out and support too. It doesn't have to be just about donating or giving stuff, just building the morale in the community. If you want to do an art show, if you want to have something, I'll come, I'll support. I was down in Gwangju on Saturday. They had like a creative social, and you meet so many cool different people in our community. Like the owner of the space down there, he was like, he offered up his space for free to have like performers perform, and there was like an art market all in the same time that day. And he's actually Chinese Jamaican, and he was like, why shouldn't I open up my space to people? He's like, it doesn't cost me anything. He's like, it's during the day on a Saturday. He's like, I'm still going to get my Saturday night crowd, so it doesn't cost me anything to have the space open and have people come in and see what's going on in the community. So I had to find his name, but it's in Gwangju. That is Loft 28. If you're down in Gwangju, definitely stop in. They have awesome jerk chicken.
Oh, so, really?
Yes, they do. Yes.
Okay, Joe, road trip to Gwangju. You have the car.
Jerk chicken.
Yeah.
Road trip.
So definitely there's I want to see, and I know we can do it, more people reaching out and building up our community and seeing what's here. And that's the thing. Then if we have more of a community and we have other people building things, you don't have to be an English teacher. You don't have to have an E2 visa. You don't have to have certain. We can sponsor other foreigners and have other jobs. Like if this were to grow, and it might not be me at the head, if this could grow as a bigger organization, and they will need maybe someone who's an assistant, maybe they will need someone who's like entering data. So then you have another form of getting a visa. So you don't have to depend on depend on these crazy hagwons and right. Yes, you don't have to depend on that. Or
we can't. We got to still get together for charity if we're going to even organize for anything else and get any change made.
Yeah. So just we come together. We can. That's how we will be stronger, and that's how we will grow.
Feeling so much good. Feeling so good right now. Thank you, Lindsey, so much for coming by the show and talking to us.
You're welcome.
Telling us about all the great works. I'm feeling a little better about humanity now.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Joe. I see you out there on Facebook with all your groups.
Yeah.
Don't be shy. I see you too.
Maybe we should have you back on when we're talking about if we ever do have another topic specific podcast. We've been having so many guests lately. We just it's all about the guests. But
but this is good. Yeah. Let people know what's going on in the community.
We need to know.
Things because everyone, I think they look at the foreigners here and they always automatically think school teacher, military, and there's no in between, and they don't see what other things people are doing. He's like, no, people are doing other things out here. Just get to get out there and learn and see and just dig a little bit deeper. So
even if and it doesn't matter. So there's foreigners, immigrants here doing all sorts of things for work, and that what your job is doesn't necessarily matter. And then outside of that, like you said, everybody's doing all these different things, and you're so much more. You're so much more than the person that works in the factory, or the person who married somebody, or the person who's an English teacher. Or,
we're defined.
There's so much more.
Well, most of us are. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone. I think that would be
everybody.
Yeah. Thank you. Creamy. Creamy just breathed a lot during the show.
We just heard it I'm so surprised that Pippin did not make, because the door is open and Pippin never. I didn't give him Prozac today. I don't understand what the deal is.
That's odd. Remind everyone that we are live on Facebook. We record live on Facebook around 7:30 p.m. on Fridays. Soul time on, did I say Facebook? Oh, YouTube. Thank you. YouTube at youtube.com/ZenKimchi. Come join us in the chat room. Okay, and please like and subscribe and all that stuff, and please support Lindsay's Facebook group. And
I know it's a long name. I know. I'm so sorry. It's so long.
Foreign and Immigrant Internet. Wait, no. Virtual Center. Wait, no.
Virtual Community Center. I know.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. The name is so long.
Look up
It's fine.
virtual community center.
We'll write it out in the description.
I'll link to it all. Everything will be linked in the notes. Everything will be linked on our Facebook, Twitter, and our webpage.
It's the Foreigner and Immigrant Virtual Community Center in Korea. So just remember, Foreigner and Immigrant Virtual Community Center.
Yes.
Thank you. And we hope to see you.
Got
all right, guys.
Okay.
Until next week, be safe.
Okay. Have a good night, you guys.
Bye-bye.
The Soul Podcast is a production of Zen Kimchi International, copyright 2021, under the Creative Commons license. Parts of this podcast may be used for non-commercial purposes if you remember to give us credit. You can contact us at sejong@soulpodcast.com. That's SEJONG@soulpodcast.com. Follow us on Twitter @King Sejong and on Facebook at facebook.com/SeoulPodcast. For a transcript of this episode, listen to it again and write down what you hear. See you next week. Until then, may your barber always have only one barber pole.